curtains, I was dust inside the glow. I memorized the way you laughed, like it could save a lonely room. You carried storms inside your chest, but still made flowers bloom. I stood beside your every dream, quiet as the evening rain, holding all the words you dropped like they would ease your pain. But every time you turned around, you looked beyond my eyes, like I was only part of air that lived between your nights. And I kept loving you in silence, while somebody else was dancing in your light. I always stood behind your shadow, close enough to feel your heart, but never where your hands would follow, never where your arms would start. You gave your brightest colors to a love that wasn't mine, while I faded softly in the background. Every single night, still I stayed, still I waited, like a candle in the rain. I always stood behind your shadow, calling out your name. I never saw the way you broke behind the calmness in your smile. You wore your hurt like quiet clothes and hid it all with style. You told me love was complicated, time never plays things fair, but every promise that you whispered left another scar there. And we were standing in the same room, but living worlds apart inside the dark blue night. I always stood behind your shadow, close enough to feel your heart, but never where your hands would follow, never where your arms would start. You gave your brightest colors to a love that wasn't mine, while I faded softly in the background. Every single night, still I stayed, still I waited, like a candle in the rain. I always stood behind your shadow, calling out your name. Maybe loving you was learning how to disappear. Maybe being near you was the loneliest place here. If I could turn around tonight, would you still remain? Or would I still be standing in the silence of your rain? I always stood behind your shadow, hoping someday you would see that all the love you searched for elsewhere was right here beside your dreams. But your heart kept drifting farther, like smoke into the sky, and mine kept breaking quietly, without a reason why. Still I loved, still I held on, though it slowly tore me through. I always stood behind your shadow, while never reaching you. I was there even when you never knew. Behind your shadow, always you. You gave her the sunrise while I held the rain. I remember all the midnight said your heart was tired then, too broken making choices. I stayed through every heavy night, every silence in your room, trying to be the steady light inside your endless blue. But somewhere between your healing and the dreams you couldn't keep, you handed someone else the part I begged for in my sleep. And I watched your eyes grow brighter for somebody who arrived after all my lonely trying. She got the part of you I needed, the warmth I waited years to hold. She got your softer side, the safe place in your soul. You gave her all your gentle mornings, all the love you hid from me, while I kept standing in the doorway of what we'd never be. And it hurts in the quiet, knowing love can change so fast. She got the part of you I needed, right after I became your past. I didn't know my broken pieces were cutting through your hands. You loved me while I disappeared, too lost to understand. I try to hate the way she smiles, the way you say her name, but jealousy just turns to grief when love still feels the same. I wonder if she knows sometimes how hard I fought for you, or if your heart just opened easier when someone new walked through. And we were almost something beautiful, but almost never stays long enough to save us. She got the part of you I needed, the warmth I waited years to hold. She got your softer side, the safe place in your soul. You gave her all your gentle mornings, all the love you hid from me, while I kept standing in the doorway of what we'd never be. And it hurts in the quiet, knowing love can change so fast. She got the part of you I needed, right after I became your past. Maybe timing is a cruel thing, maybe hearts unlocked too late, maybe I was only meant to help you find your way. You deserve the love I buried under all my fear and doubt, but she received the version of you I kept dreaming about. She got the part of you I needed, the tenderness behind your walls, the way your voice turns softer when somebody you love calls. And I still hear the echoes of the future I could see, before your heart chose somewhere else instead of choosing me. Still I smile, still I miss you, though the truth cuts deep and slow. She got the part of you I needed, and I had to let you go. I love the version you never gave to me, but maybe that was never mine to keep. You said goodbye so easily, mine never coffee cup still stains the shelf you touched the night before, and every little ordinary thing feels louder than before. You folded all your memories into one final sigh, while I kept searching for a reason in the silence of your eyes. You walked away with steady steps, like you already healed, while I was standing frozen there with wounds I couldn't conceal. And I still hear your voice in echoes long after your goodbye stopped shaking in the air. The space between your goodbye and mine still feels like an unfinished song. You let go in a single moment. I've been trying all along. You crossed the bridge so quietly, while I'm stranded in the rain, somewhere between your leaving and my learning to remain. And every night I replay the silence where your last words fell apart. The space between your goodbye and mine still lives inside my heart. I thought goodbye would hurt us equally, like two halves breaking down. But sometimes one heart leaves the room before the other drowns. You packed away the future like it never had a name, but I still sleep beside the ghost of everything we planned. And maybe love doesn't disappear the second someone goes. Maybe it lingers quietly in places no one knows. And we became two distant seasons, standing underneath the same cold sky. The space between your goodbye and mine still feels like an unfinished song. You let go in a single moment. I've been trying all along. You crossed the bridge so quietly, while I'm stranded in the rain, somewhere between your leaving and my learning to remain. And every night I replay the silence where your last words fell apart. The space between your goodbye and mine still lives inside my heart. Maybe someday I'll stop reaching for the shadow of your hand. Maybe someday this emptiness will finally understand. I never meant to leave you with all the weight alone, but healing takes a different road for hearts that love too long. The space between your goodbye and mine is where the lonely memories stay. You found peace inside your ending. I'm still finding mine each day. And though your footsteps disappeared, I still hear them in my soul, like a distant fading melody trying to let me go. Still I love, still I wonder if you ever think of me. The space between your goodbye and mine is wider than the sea. You said goodbye, and somehow I'm still saying mine. avidly, even when you stayed. We sat beside the window light, watching strangers pass. You smiled at me so carefully, like something from the past. Your fingers still intertwined with mine, but softer than before, like you were slowly drifting out without closing the door. I felt the distance in your skin, the quiet in your breath, like love was fading gracefully instead of ending yet. And I pretended not to notice how your heart was slowly turning into yesterday. You held my hand like a memory, like something beautiful but gone, like a photograph still hanging after all the colors run. You looked at me with tenderness, but not the way you used to do, like your soul was somewhere else already, even standing in this room. And it hurt how gently love can disappear from view. You held my hand like a memory, while I still held on to you. I try to hide the distance inside ordinary days, but silence has a language that even smiles can't save. You kissed my forehead softly, like a final lullaby, and every little kindness only made me want to cry. Because love doesn't always shatter, sometimes it slowly bends into something warm but empty that no longer knows how to mend. And we were speaking through the quiet, trying not to name what we both could feel. You held my hand like a memory, like something beautiful but gone, like a photograph still hanging after all the colors run. You looked at me with tenderness, but not the way you used to do, like your soul was somewhere else already, even standing in this room. And it hurt how gently love can disappear from view. You held my hand like a memory, while I still held on to you. Maybe hearts don't break in thunder, maybe they fade out like rain, little by little, until only echoes remain. I never wanted to become a stranger in your eyes, but somewhere between our silence we stopped fighting for the light. You held my hand like a memory, like the last page of our story, still warm enough to comfort me, still sad enough to haunt me. And even now I feel your fingers in the middle of the night, like a ghost of all the love we had before it lost the fight. Still I ache, still I miss you, though I know we're nearly through. You held my hand like a memory, and I held on like it was new. You were already leaving, I just didn't know how to let go too. they just learn how to hide. I folded all my sadness neatly under ordinary days, answered every "how have you been?" the safest kind of way. I wore sunlight on my shoulders even when it rained inside. Learned how to keep conversations warm while breaking deep behind my eyes. Nobody noticed trembling hands behind the coffee cup, or how my voice grew softer every time your name came up. And I became so good at hiding the storms beneath the calm. No one saw me drown. I learned to smile through quiet pain, to laugh while slowly coming undone, to carry heartbreak gracefully, like you weighed almost nothing. You never heard the sleepless nights behind the "I'm okay" refrain. I learned to smile through quiet pain and dance gently through the rain. Still I stayed kind, still I stayed open. Though love left scars unseen, I learned to smile through quiet pain without asking to be saved. Saw the light around you fading, but thought you needed space. Never realized your silence was a mask upon your face. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones who never show how close they are to breaking, because they fear letting go. So I became a masterpiece of pretending I was whole, while pieces of my tired heart collapsed beneath my soul. And we were standing in the same world, but feeling different kinds of lonely every night. I learned to smile through quiet pain, to laugh while slowly coming undone, to carry heartbreak gracefully, like you weighed almost nothing. You never heard the sleepless nights behind the "I'm okay" refrain. I learned to smile through quiet pain and dance gently through the rain. Still I stay kind, still I stayed open. Though love left scars unseen, I learned to smile through quiet pain without asking to be saved. Maybe healing isn't loud, maybe strength is soft and slow, maybe surviving quietly is braver than we know. You carried all your sorrow like nobody else should see, because some hearts break silently while still giving warmth freely. I learned to smile through quiet pain, to shine while aching deep inside, to keep the room from growing dark, even when my own light died. And though the nights still find me lonely, I no longer fear the rain, because somewhere in the hurting I discovered who remains. Still I breathe, still I soften, still my heart beats warm and true. I learned to smile through quiet pain, and somehow made it through. Not every wound needs thunder, some just bloom quietly in blue. And still her through an open door. We were sitting in the kitchen light, halfway through the night, talking about ordinary things, trying to feel alright. Your smile drifted somewhere else, far beyond the room, like your heart had already left before I noticed you. Then out of nowhere came her name, floating gently from your lips. Not careless, not accidental, but full of tenderness. And I felt the whole world changing inside the silence between your words and mine. When you said her name softly, I heard everything I feared. The way your voice turned warmer made the truth suddenly clear. There was love inside the sound of it, a light I'd never known. And in that quiet moment I realized I'd lost my home. Still I smiled, still I listened, while my heart fell slowly through. When you said her name softly, I knew she had all of you. I never meant to hurt you by speaking honestly, but hiding her inside my chest was slowly burying me. You looked almost apologetic, yet brighter than before, like love had opened every window inside your guarded soul. And I hated how beautiful your happiness could be, even while it quietly shattered every hopeful part of me. And we were sitting in the same room, but standing on different sides of goodbye. When you said her name softly, I heard everything I feared. The way your voice turned warmer made the truth suddenly clear. There was love inside the sound of it, a light I'd never known. And in that quiet moment I realized I'd lost my home. Still I smiled, still I listened, while my heart fell slowly through. When you said her name softly, I knew she had all of you. Funny how a single moment can divide a life in two. Before your lips had formed her name, I still belong with you. I wish I could have spared you from the ache behind my truth, but honesty can still be painful, even when it's kind and smooth. When you said her name softly, the room grew colder than before, like every dream I tried protecting fell quietly to the floor. But somewhere underneath the heartbreak I could finally understand love cannot be forced to stay inside unwilling hands. Still I ache, still I miss you, though I know what's true now too. When you said her name softly, I said goodbye to you. You never raised your voice, but somehow it broke me anyway. When you said her name softly. held me carefully, like something made of glass. Gentle with your words and hands, but never built to last. You gave me late night conversations and quiet drives through town, but every dream I tried to touch would somehow fade back down. I thought your fear was temporary, that time would bring us close, never knowing all your warmth was being saved for someone else. And I mistook your kindness for forever, while your heart was learning how to leave me slowly. The love you saved for someone else was all I begged to find. The softer parts you hid from me, the safe place in your eyes. You gave her every sunrise, every promise wrapped in gold, while I stood outside your silence, trying not to feel the cold. Still I stayed, still I hoped, even when the truth became clear. The love you saved for someone else was never really here. I never meant to keep you waiting inside an unfinished dream, but some hearts don't understand themselves until they finally leave. I watched you become brighter when her name lit up your phone, and suddenly the distance between us felt like stone. It hurts how love can bloom so freely after all the years you tried to convince me your heart was broken when it was only close to mine. And we were holding on to echoes of something that was fading before it even grew. The love you saved for someone else was all I begged to find. The softer parts you hid from me, the safe place in your eyes. You gave her every sunrise, every promise wrapped in gold, while I stood outside your silence, trying not to feel the cold. Still I stayed, still I hoped, even when the truth became clear. The love you saved for someone else was never really here. Maybe I was only meant to carry you through storms until your heart was finally ready to feel somebody warm. You deserve the love that chose you without fear or hesitation, but instead I loved a version of you, still waiting for another destination. The love you saved for someone else still lingers in my mind, like unopened letters on a shelf I'll never get to find. And though your arms now hold her, I still remember when I thought someday your guarded heart would open up again. Still I heal, still I soften, though some scars remain themselves. I was loving empty spaces while you saved your heart for someone else. I kept waiting at the door for a love already spoken for. pieces of myself, hoping love would finally stay. I learned your favorite silence, the shape of every fear, the way your eyes look distant whenever love came near. I softened every sharp edge inside my restless soul, trying to become the version you'd finally choose to hold. But every time I reached for you, you drifted out again, like my love was almost beautiful, but never quite enough to win. And I spent so long believing if I gave you everything, you'd stop searching elsewhere. I was halfway to being enough, halfway to your heart, close enough to touch your world, but still too far to stay inside your arms. You gave me pieces of forever, but never all the way, and I kept building dreams alone from promises that couldn't stay. Still I tried, still I loved you, even when the truth was rough. I was halfway to being enough, but halfway was never enough. You carried us with trembling hands long after I let go, and I kept asking for your patience without meaning to give hope. I blame myself for every distance, every night you disappeared, like somehow if I loved you better, you would finally stay here. But love should never feel like chasing a door already closed, or begging someone to see beauty in a heart already exposed. And we were balancing on heartbreak, trying to survive, but neither of us could fix. I was halfway to being enough, halfway to your heart, close enough to touch your world, but still too far to stay inside your arms. You gave me pieces of forever, but never all the way, and I kept building dreams alone from promises that couldn't stay. Still I tried, still I loved you, even when the truth was rough. I was halfway to being enough, but halfway was never enough. Maybe I was never lacking, maybe love just wasn't right. Maybe hearts can still be gentle while failing to survive. You deserve the love that chose you without hesitation or doubt, not one that only reached for me when loneliness wore out. I was halfway to being enough until I finally understood love shouldn't leave you questioning your own worth for someone good. And though a part of me still aches for all we couldn't become, I'm learning how to stand complete without waiting for your love. Still I heal, still inside somebody else's heart. Now I'm coming home to mine. I kept knocking on the same door, not realizing your heart had already gone elsewhere. You used to look at me like sunlight falling through your room, like maybe love was possible if fear didn't arrive too soon. We spent whole nights unraveling the damage from our past, trying to believe fragile things could somehow finally last. But somewhere in the quiet, while I held on to our flame, your eyes began to wander softly whenever someone called your name. And I felt the distance growing before your lips could even tell me what had changed. Your heart opened in another direction while mine still faced your way. You found a light beyond me as I begged ours to stay. And suddenly your silence started making sense to me. You were already somewhere else before you chose to leave. Still I loved, still I waited, though the truth cut through my chest. Your heart opened in another direction and left mine behind instead.
I never planned to hurt you or let another feeling grow, but hearts don't always ask permission before they choose where they will go.
I try to hold the pieces of everything we used to be, but love becomes a lonely place when only one heart still believes.
And maybe you were changing slowly, long before I understood, while I kept watering a garden already turning into wood.
And
we were standing in the ashes of a future
disappearing without a sound. Your heart opened in another direction while mine still faced your way. You found a light beyond me as I begged ours to stay. And suddenly your silence started making sense to me. You were already somewhere else before you chose to leave. Still I loved, still I waited, though the truth cut through my chest. Your heart opened in another direction and left mine behind instead.
Maybe love is not betrayal.
Maybe hearts just sometimes change.
Maybe people drift apart
without intending any pain.
You deserve someone completely,
not someone halfway torn apart. But I kept trying to stay standing inside a collapsing heart. Your heart opened in another direction and mine learned how to break in peace. I watched your soul become alive again while mine searched for release. But somewhere in the losing, I found something quietly true. Love should never need convincing from the one who once loved you. Still I heal, still I soften, finally I let it go. I wasn't wrong for loving you. You just weren't meant to stay. Another direction. You were so close to forever, close enough to almost believe it. We talked about growing older, like it was already ours. Tiny house with painted windows, late night drives beneath the stars. You traced circles on my fingers while whispering future plans. And for a while I truly thought forever lived inside your hands. But promises can lose their color when fear begins to grow, and hearts can slowly drift apart before they let you know. And I held on to every maybe, like it was solid ground beneath my breaking feet. I was the almost in your forever, the near miss in your dreams, the one you loved in quiet moments, but not enough to keep. We stood so close to something timeless, but never crossed the line. You carried me like a beautiful thought you couldn't make survive. Still I stayed, still I believed, even when the ending grew clear. I was the almost in your forever, not the one who stayed there with you.
I wanted us to last forever, but wanting wasn't enough. Sometimes love can feel so real and still fall out of touch.
I replay every tiny memory, like songs inside my head, trying to understand the moment our future quietly left.
And maybe we were meant to teach each other how to heal,
even if the life we imagined never became real.
and we were dancing on the edge of forever
Without knowing,
the floor
was disappearing. I was the almost in your forever, the near miss in your dreams, the one you loved in quiet moments, but not enough to keep. We stood so close to something timeless, but never crossed the line. You carried me like a beautiful thought you couldn't make survive. Still I stayed, still I believed, even when the ending grew clear. I was the almost in your forever, not the one who stayed there with you. Maybe almost love still matters,
maybe unfinished hearts still bloom,
maybe not every forever
is meant to reach the room.
you were never just a moment,
You were home in many ways,
but some homes are only borrowed.
before the light slowly fades.
I was the almost in your And somehow that still meant everything. Not every love becomes forever. Some just become unforgettable. Almost forever. I knew your heart leaned somewhere else, but mine still stayed with you. You never promised forever, never swore that I was first, but I kept turning small moments into reasons it could work. The way you brush my hair aside, the softness in your tone made me believe there was still space for me inside your soul. But every time her name appeared, your whole world seemed to shine, and I became the quiet place you visited between the lines. And I learned how to stand beside you without asking for the love you couldn't fully give. Second to her, still loving you, still hoping you might turn around, still collecting every fragile piece of warmth you laid down. You held me close in lonely moments, but your heart belonged elsewhere, and I kept calling it love, even knowing it wasn't fair. Still I stayed, still I waited, even when the truth cut through. Second to her, still loving you. I hated seeing pain inside you that my silence slowly made, but I was lost between two feelings, too afraid to walk away. I should've left the first time I felt your distance grow, but love can make a person stay long after they should know. Maybe part of me believed if I loved enough somehow, you'd someday see the heart beside you instead of searching outward now. When we were balancing on heartache, trying to survive, would already slipped away. Second to her, still loving you, still hoping you might turn around, still collecting every fragile piece of warmth you laid down. You held me close in lonely moments, but your heart belonged elsewhere, and I kept calling it love, even knowing it wasn't fair. Still I stayed, still I waited, even when the truth cut through. Second to her, still loving you. Maybe loving someone deeply doesn't always mean they stay. Maybe hearts can hold affection and still drift another way. You deserve to be somebody's first, not hidden in between. But I kept building all my dreams inside second to her, still loving you. Though every part of me grew tired, watching your eyes light up for her, while mine slowly dimmed beside you. But somewhere in this heartbreak, I finally understand love should never leave a soul begging just to hold a hand. Still I heal, still I miss you, though I know it's finally true. I was second to her, but I'll stop being second to myself. I loved you more than I loved my own heart. That's why it hurt this much. Some endings don't arrive loudly. Sometimes they arrive in silence. I lit a candle by the window like I always used to do. Told myself you'd call eventually, like you promised you would. The clock kept moving softly while the city dimmed outside, and every passing car made me look up with hopeful eyes. I replayed our last conversation, searching for what changed, trying to find a hidden meaning inside your distant gaze. And I started feeling lonely before I even understood why the room felt colder. It was the night I realized I was waiting alone, holding on to echoes after you were already gone. I kept setting places at the table for two, while your heart stopped returning to this room. And suddenly the silence told me more than words had shown. It was the night I realized I was waiting alone.
I thought distance would be temporary, just something we could survive. But somewhere between exhaustion and fear, I stopped trying to arrive.
You became smaller in my mornings, like fading smoke in rain. And every I miss you from your lips started sounding rehearsed and faint.
Still I defended your absence like love could excuse it all, until the weight of empty waiting finally broke the wall.
And we were speaking less and less while pretending nothing was disappearing. It was the night I realized I was waiting alone, holding on to echoes after you were already gone. I kept setting places at the table for two, while your heart stopped returning to this room. And quickly move on. It was the night I realized I was waiting alone,
still protecting a future that had already dissolved.
You were somewhere beyond me while I stayed frozen in place, trying to hold together memories that time could not replace.
But somewhere in the
Heartbreak, a quieter strength was born. The night I realized I was waiting alone was the night I started letting go. I kept waiting for footsteps that stopped coming long ago. Alone, but finally awake. You came back with love in your hands, but my heart had already learned how to leave. You stood outside my doorway like a ghost from yesterday, with tired eyes and trembling words you never used to say. You told me you were sorry for every wound and every scar. Said losing me had shown you who you really are. And part of me still melted, hearing softness in your tone. But healing had already built a home inside my soul. And I wanted so badly to believe you, but some doors close quietly after too much pain. You were a little too late for my heart, a little too late for the love we had. I waited through the lonely nights until waiting turned me sad. Now your hands reach for me gently, but mine have learned to let go. You found the words I needed after my tears already froze. Still I care, still I miss you, but not enough to fall apart. You were a little too late for my heart.
I thought you'd always be there, even when I pulled away. Never realized your silence was slowly turning into strength.
I spent so many evenings begging heaven you would change. Now I finally found my peace, and you're asking me to stay.
It hurts because I dreamed for years of hearing what you said tonight. But dreams arrive too fragile sometimes when they miss the timing right. And we were standing in the ruins of a love that waited too long to be saved. You were a little too late for my heart, a little too late for the love we had. I waited through the lonely nights until waiting turned me sad. Now your hands reach for me gently, but mine have learned to let go. You found the words I needed after my tears already froze. Still I care, still I miss you, but not enough to fall apart. You were a little too late for my heart. Maybe love can still exist after people drift apart. Maybe healing means accepting what timing does to hearts. spoken sooner, would you still be here tonight?
Maybe, but maybe doesn't change how long I cried alone at night. You were a little too late for my heart, though a piece still aches for you. I finally learned that loving someone doesn't mean they're meant for you. And now I walk through mornings without begging love to stay, because somewhere in the breaking I found myself again. Still I soften, still I remember, but I no longer fall apart. You were a little too late for my heart. I waited until my soul grew tired, and by the time you came back, mine had already gone home. She walked beside you so naturally, like she belonged inside the life I imagined. I saw you laughing in the distance under fading golden light, and something in the way you looked at her quietly broke me that night. She wore your oversized sweater, the one I used to steal, and suddenly the future I had pictured didn't feel imaginary anymore, just painfully real. You brushed her hair behind her ear the way you once did mine, and every little gentle thing felt like losing time. And I couldn't even hate her, because she loved you the way I always hoped you'd stay loved. She wore the future I dreamed about, the mornings I once planned, your name beside hers naturally, your fingers in her hands. She stood inside the life I used to whisper to the stars, while I watched from far away, trying to survive the dark. Still I smiled, still I vanished quietly,
so you could both shine through.
She wore the future I dreamed about, and somehow it looked beautiful on you.
I never wanted you to witness the life you thought was ours, but love moved in another direction without asking who it scars.
I wonder if she knows sometimes how deeply I once stayed, or if the version of you she loves was built from all the pain we made.
And maybe that's the cruelest part of letting somebody go,
watching them become everything you begged them once to show.
and we were standing at the edge of what could have been,
Before the world changed shape, she wore the future I dreamed about, the home I couldn't reach, the soft forever in your eyes that slipped beyond my fingertips. She carried all the promises I once held close inside, and I became a fading chapter in the story of your life. Still I love, still I let go slowly,
even when it hurt me through.
she wore the future I dreamed about, and you looked happy beside her too. Maybe love is not possession, Maybe healing means release. Maybe seeing someone happy is its own kind of grief.
You deserve the world I couldn't give when fear still filled my chest.
But someone else arrived when your heart was finally ready for the rest. She wore the future I dreamed about, but I no longer blame the night, because some loves are only meant to guide us toward the light. And though a part of me still aches when your memory comes through, I'm learning not every beautiful dream was meant to come true. Still I heal, still I soften,
Still my heart beats gentle somehow.
she wore the future I dreamed about, but I'm dreaming differently now. I saw my old dreams in her eyes and finally understood. Some futures belong to someone else. You didn't leave with shouting. You left like fading light at dusk. There were no broken picture frames, no thunder in the hall, no cruel words thrown like fire, no final desperate call. Just quieter conversations and longer pauses in between, until your eyes stopped reaching mine the way they used to reach me. You folded all our memories into careful, quiet drawers, and somehow that hurt deeper than if you'd slammed the door. And I kept waiting for the moment everything would make sense, but silence became the answer. You left me in the gentle silence where love slowly disappeared. No dramatic ending shattered us, just distance settling here. And somehow that made it harder to know exactly what to blame, because tenderness still lingered even after love had changed. Still I stayed, still I listened to echoes in the empty room. You left me in the gentle silence and took our future with you.
I never wanted to destroy us or leave your heart undone, but sometimes love grows quieter before it finally becomes gone.
I noticed it in tiny ways, the softness fading slow, the way your hands stopped reaching when we walked home in the cold.
And every peaceful evening became another hidden
Goodbye, wrapped inside ordinary moments neither of us could deny.
And we were disappearing softly
Without knowing how to stop it. You left me in the gentle silence where love slowly disappeared. No dramatic ending shattered us, just distance settling here. And somehow that made it harder to know exactly what to blame, because tenderness still lingered even after love had changed. Still I stayed, still I listened to echoes in the empty room. You left me in the gentle silence took our future with you.
Maybe some hearts don't break loudly.
Maybe they dissolve like rain,
Fading little by little,
until only shadows remain.
you deserve clearer answers
Then the quiet I became. But silence can still wound a soul, even when it speaks gently. You left me in the gentle silence, but I survived the empty space. I learned that not all endings need anger to leave a trace. And though your memory still visits, like soft music in the dark, I no longer wait beside the window, holding on to who we were. Still I heal, still I soften, though some nights remain blue. You left me in the gentle silence, and somehow I found myself there too. The quiet hurt the most, because part of me still hoped. Gentle silence. Some heartbreaks turn cold with time. Ours still feels warm somehow. I found your sweater in my closet, still carrying your scent. And suddenly the room around me folded back to where we'd been. The little jokes we used to whisper still echo through my head, like pieces of a softer life that somehow never fully left. I thought pain would harden slowly into something easier to survive, but memories wrapped in tenderness don't always lose their light. And I still feel comfort in the sadness, like missing you became a place I quietly live. You were the kind of hurt that stays warm, the kind that lingers gently in the soul. Not sharp enough to hate, not distant enough to let go. And even after all this time, there's softness in the pain, like part of me still smiles whenever I hear your name. Still I ache, still I remember the way your love once felt like home. You were the kind of hurt that stays warm long after being gone.
I never meant to become a wound you carry kindly, but some loves leave their fingerprints on every
Quiet memory. Sometimes I miss the ordinary more than the grand goodbye. The way your hand reached for mine without even trying.
and every rainy evening still carries shades of you,
Like the world remembers us even when we're through.
we were never cruel to each other.
That's why the ending still feels tender now. You were the kind of hurt that stays warm, the kind that lingers gently in the soul. Not sharp enough to hate, not distant enough to let go. And even after all this time, there's softness in the pain.
your heart still finds peace
when memories return at night. Because loving you still hurts me softly, but never without light. You were the kind of hurt that stays warm, the ache that never turns to stone, a bittersweet reminder that I was deeply known.
Though our roads grew different,
I don't regret the truth, because some loves leave behind sadness that still feels beautiful. Still I heal, still I soften, still your memory moves through me. You are the kind of hurt that stays warm, and maybe always will be. Not every pain needs forgetting. Some just become part of your warmth. Still warm. I saw it in your eyes before you ever said goodbye. You were already reaching for another world. We used to draw tomorrow on the ceiling in the dark, talking about forever like it lived inside our hearts. But slowly your attention began drifting down new roads, and every dream we carried started feeling less like home.
I noticed how your silence
Stayed longer every night, like part of you was leaving before it left my side. And I kept trying to save us while you were already learning how to walk away softly. I watched you choose another life, another sky to chase, another version of yourself that no longer needed my embrace. You look beyond our memories towards something bright and new, while I stood holding pieces of a love I thought was true. Still I stayed, still I loved you, even while your heart withdrew. I watched you choose another life instead of choosing me too.
I never wanted to become the reason your tears fell,
But sometimes hearts keep changing.
even when intentions mean well.
You stopped saying we so often, started speaking more alone, and every little difference turned this house less into home.
I should have seen the ending,
And the space is growing wide
but love can make a person blind
to truths they fear inside. And
we're holding on to echoes
of a future disappearing
little by little.
I watched you choose another life, another sky to chase, another version of yourself that no longer needed my embrace. You look beyond our memories towards something bright and new, while I stood holding pieces of a love I thought was
certainty came too late.
After I already lost you, I watched you choose another life and finally stopped asking why.
Because love can still be honest,
even when it says goodbye. And though your shadow sometimes still visits in my sleep,
I no longer beg the morning
to return what it can't keep. Still I heal, still I soften, though the memory lingers blue.
I watched you choose another life,
And now I'm choosing mine too. You walked toward the life you needed,
and I stayed long enough
to understand. Goodbye. I don't know if I'm holding on or slowly learning how to leave. Your picture still lives by my bedside, turned halfway toward the wall. Like part of me still needs your light, and part of me needs none at all. I still reach for my phone sometimes when something makes me smile. Then remember we don't belong to each other anymore tonight. The hardest kind of heartbreak isn't anger, blame, or rage. It's loving someone quietly while trying to turn the page. And I keep floating through emotions I can't fully name yet, but they ache all the same. I'm somewhere between love and letting go, between missing you and moving on. Still carrying your voice inside my head, but learning how to sleep alone. Part of me still waits for you, part of me knows you're gone. And every night I drift between the place where we went wrong. Still I care, still I break softly when your memory moves through. I'm somewhere between love and letting go, still halfway holding on to you.
I wish healing came in straight lines, without circles back through pain. But hearts remember tenderness long after endings change.
I folded away your letters, but not the way you felt. Some loves become quiet ghosts that never truly melt.
And maybe that's just human. Maybe hearts need time to bend, from being somebody's home
to learning how to heal again. And we still echo through each other,
even after
goodbye has already settled in. I'm somewhere between love and
loving me,
to finally set yourself free.
maybe letting go just means
loving someone differently. I'm somewhere between love and letting go, but slowly finding peace inside, learning not every ending needs a heart to choose a side, because a part of me will always carry traces of your light. Even while I'm walking forward into my own life tonight, still I heal, still I soften.
though your memory lingers blue,
I'm somewhere between love and letting go,
and finally becoming
someone new. Maybe the hardest part of healing is loving someone less, little by little. Letting go slowly. Tonight, in the rain, sounded lonely, like the sky was missing someone too. Streetlights blurred across the window like tears against the glass. The city moved in distant colors while memories move too fast. Your sweater hangs beside the doorway, still shaped a little like you. And every quiet corner here feels colder than it used to. I made another cup of coffee without thinking twice again, then watched the steam rise slowly into empty air instead. And I couldn't tell if I was crying or if the storm outside had simply entered me. Even the rain sounded lonely tonight, falling soft against my room, like every drop remembered the shape of losing you. And every passing thunder felt quieter than my heart, because silence hurts much deeper when somebody leaves in parts. Still I stayed awake, still I listened to echoes dripping blue. Even the rain sounded lonely tonight without you.
I never thought our ending would feel this cold and still, like two people fading gently against their own will.
The clock kept moving forward, but nothing here moved on. Every sound became a reminder that your warmth was gone.
And somehow the rain kept falling, like it understood the ache. A soft, endless conversation between heartbreak and the dark awake.
And we were somewhere in the distance, still haunting little pieces of each other's nights. Even the rain sounded lonely tonight, falling soft against my room, like every drop remembered the shape of losing you. And every passing thunder felt quieter than my heart, because silence hurts much deeper when somebody the sky, trying hard not to break. Maybe lonely hearts and rain speak the very same way.
I wish I could erase the sorrow
I left inside your soul,
but some nights even the weather
can't help feeling alone. Even the rain sounded lonely tonight, but somewhere beneath the gray I felt a softer kind of healing beginning quietly to stay. Because missing you still hurts me like winter inside my chest, but every storm eventually fades and teaches hearts to rest. Still I remember, still I soften, though the ache still lingers through. Even the rain sounded lonely tonight, and somehow so did I too. Some loves don't stay forever, but they still leave light behind. I walked past our old cafe, the one beside the park, and for the first time in a while, the memory didn't break my heart. I still remember how you laughed, how your eyes softened at night, how we tried to hold tomorrow with trembling hands too tight. We were never perfect people, just two souls afraid to fall, trying to build forever before we understood ourselves at all. And I finally stopped asking why we couldn't stay the way we used to be. And still I wished you happiness, even after all the pain, even after all the nights I whispered your name into the rain. 'Cause loving you was real to me, even if it couldn't last. And some hearts leave beautiful traces long after they become the past. Still I smile,
still I remember
the warmth inside your eyes, and still I wished you happiness.
I hope the world is gentle with you wherever life may lead. I hope someone holds your heart the way you once held me.
And I hope you find the mornings you always dreamed about, the peaceful kind of love that leaves no room for doubt. Because somewhere in the heartbreak, between the tears and time, I learned that love can still stay kind, even after goodbye.
And we will always be a chapter
that quietly shaped who we became. But still I wished you happiness, even after all the pain, even after all the nights I whispered your name into the rain. 'Cause loving you was real to me, I wished you happiness. Maybe healing isn't forgetting. Maybe it's learning to breathe without turning every memory into something you still need.
You'll always carry pieces of me,
the way I carry you too.
but now those pieces hurt less softly,
like sunsets fading into blue. And still I wished you happiness as I finally let you go.
not with bitterness or anger,
But with love that learned to grow.
because what we had was
Beautiful, even if it reached its end.
and some people love forever,
Even after they stop being yours again. Still I heal,
still I soften.
still my heart beats calm and true. And still, after everything,
I wish the very best for you.
thank you for the love we had.
Even if we couldn't keep it,
Goodbye.
and be happy.